Hello and welcome to the Get Stuck In podcast. I'm Max and I'm back here with Sam. A little bit later this week, but we've got two guests on later in the show. But for now, we're going to do our sort of roundup of the weekend's results, the midweek results, and we're going to start at Old Trafford. Southampton got handed the same scoreline that got handed to them last season by Leicester at their own ground, 9-0. Um, Goals from Fernandez, two for Martial, even one for Wan-Bissaka in that mix. Two red cards as well. What did you make of it?
I mean, it was bizarre. I remember I didn't have the game on at the time, and I checked the score about 25 minutes in, and I was like, oh, it's already 4-0. I saw the red card, and I was trying to find the tackle online, and it just seemed like we sort of mentioned just before. It's difficult when you see this kind of scoreline. As much as United have been in good form, and obviously this is a great result, and obviously everyone at United deserves praise. It's just one of those results that is so um, bizarre and random and just one off, like the last time they lost 9-0, like when Villa beat Liverpool 7-2, like when United themselves lost 6-1. It's just, it doesn't feel like a real game. It just, there's so many factors that come to play, like an early red card or something. But full credit to United, they put them to bed. I mean, how many times do you watch a game and a team wins maybe 3 or 4 nil, and you just think, like, why did they stop going? They could have carried on, and United did it. Kind of bizarre there wasn't a hat trick. Yeah, like I said, a lot of goals from a lot of players. McTominay got a goal, having been a player on the end of the tackle. So great for United, especially with their little downturn in results prior to this game. Interesting for Southampton now to see what they do. I mean, they stuck with Hassan until last time. Obviously, I don't see him getting sacked for this, but it'll be interesting to see how he can react. See if they can keep up their push for Europe.
Yeah, I mean Southampton had a great start to the season and first half of the season even, and but now they've lost I think four straight. So they're on a little bit of a downward spiral, which I didn't personally see coming. I thought they maybe level out a little bit, but um, I trust in Hassan Hutel very much so. So I don't see this being a massive sort of downturn for them, and I don't think they'll spiral all the way down the table by no means. I think they'll still finish top half of the table. Um, I think it wasn't helped 2 minutes in. I think it was a debutant,
Yeah,
Jankovic, who got sent off. So I mean, straight away you're on the back foot. You really don't help yourselves. You don't help the team when you start off like that. So I think a loss was inevitable at that point, but I certainly didn't see 9-0 coming. So we'll move on to to the best result of the last few days, of course, and that was Arsenal losing 2-1 to Wolves, um, which included some rather, in my opinion, shambolic refereeing decisions. No less than the red card for David Luiz for an apparent intentional trip in the box for a penalty, double jeopardy, might I add. Um, yeah, I mean, for you, I can't imagine. I can't imagine the thoughts flying through your head when at the end of that game.
I honestly had no words. I was, well, I had a lot of words for one man in particular. I felt bad for everyone. I was watching my flatmate, and he was just sitting there, just listening to the rant. I mean, it was so frustrating because we've been so poor recently, and I've been so almost at peace with that. And every game you go into, you're just like, a draw is a good result. I'll take it. That's an improvement. And we finally had this little run. Smith Rowe's looking unreal. Saka is just obviously missed out the Man United game, which just said so much. The reaction to that, he's so clearly probably our best player now. He was back. Everything felt. I feel like it kind of felt as close to our best team we've had in a while, bar probably Aubameyang, who could only make the bench, and Tierney, who's still out. But Cedric's been incredible. We hit the post about a minute in. Party put in Saka for a goal, and then Saka scores an incredible finish on his weak foot, disallowed, rightfully, but that frustrating, like 1 meter, 1 inch from VAR. I mean, the Pepe scores a blinder from left wing, and obviously he's picked up a little bit, and he's thinking, we're actually good. I know Wolves aren't in form at the moment, but it's a tough place to go, and we just looked so comfortable, and I was just so happy, and I allowed myself to get sucked in. And I have to say, when it first happened, before I saw the replays, I was just annoyed at David Luiz because I thought he had pulled him down, which obviously he's got a bit of history doing. He did it with Salah at Anfield, and I was just thinking, why don't you just let him score? Like, we're so on top. You never know, he might miss, but we can come back and take the lead again from a 1-1. So I was just annoyed with him. And then as the replays came rolling in, it just became apparent that it was. I mean, the contact is tiny and it looks unintentional. I'm not too offended about it being a penalty, but being a red card, it just seems like I just can't get my head around how that could be a red card, especially with that double jeopardy rule. So, and then the second half, I mean, the Leno one is just its own thing. I don't even know how you describe that. It's just mental. Moutinho's goal is incredible, but what frustrates me is Wolves aren't about their players are incredible, and they always have been. And it was like us when we beat Chelsea a few weeks ago. Suddenly, everyone became their normal selves again, and it's no surprise at all that once Wolves got their mojo back, which all it takes is a equaliser, especially before half time, you've got that momentum going, and you're playing 10 men now. And they just turned it back on. They just became them old selves. They had confidence. Moutinho scored an absolute screamer. You can't take anything away from that. But it's just frustrating because my hunch is that he wouldn't have even been shooting had the incident in the first half not happened. So it's frustrating. And I think there was dodgy decisions in the Man United game. There's dodgy decisions in every single game this season, it feels like.
I feel sorry for it.
I'm confident about us.
I feel sorry for Moutinho. I feel like it is one of the goals of the season, but I've seen highlights of it, but I haven't seen a huge reaction to it because I think the David Luiz incident has just overshadowed it all completely. So I feel a bit sorry for him because it was a literal blinder. Like he must have been about 35 yards out.
Effectively the perfect shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cannon off the post.
It's a great goal. But yeah, like I said, they're not not to be disrespectful, but they're not a Fulham or a West Brom. Their players, even without Jimenez, are amazing. They've been on this run. I think they said before that they lost 8 or they hadn't won in 8. But you just knew as soon as they got it back, however that happened, all those players have got it in them to be top class players. So it's nice to take this game out of it. I actually am a big fan of Wolves and I like a lot of their players, but obviously on the day you just get frustrated about it. But yeah, so from a neutral point of view, I'm sure it's great to see Wolves sort of back at it and hopefully that can continue. But I don't know, the referees are just VAR is such a good idea, but it's just not being applied correctly, or at least it's being applied frustratingly.
Well, at least you can take solace in your North London rivals losing at the weekend to 17th place Brighton. So I hope that made up for it. Yeah, Spurs were pretty awful for most of the game, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to set themselves out, and I think Spurs generally are excellent defensively this year, but it's the Mourinho way, and it just doesn't seem to click sometimes in terms of your Brighton dominated the first 20 minutes of the game and they got their goal, and deservedly so. They threatened about 2 or 3 times and then they finally put it in the net. Nicely worked goal. I want a side note. I think McAllister is going to be a big player in the future, whether it's in the Prem, but he looks like a baller. So I like the look of McAllister, and yeah, lovely work goal by Pascal Gross as well into Trossard. And then Spurs, they didn't really threaten until about the 75th minute. It's a little bit baffling. They just lacked a bit of urgency. I know Kane's not there, and obviously that's a big blow. There's no doubting that. But the spark sometimes seems to go, and it takes them about an hour to recover it during a game. And I think that's their issue at the moment. And I think when they signed Gareth Bale, they thought he could be, maybe, if he wasn't going to start, at least the guy they could bring off the bench to have a massive impact on the game and turn a game around. But he was awful.
Yeah, I mean, dreadful. That's the thing. I think it just felt like this was the game where he steps up with Kane out. It was like obviously he can still come good, but it felt like this was kind of now or never. It's like his big first opportunity where he could be the man. And I mean, he got subbed off really early. I think it wasn't half time, but it wasn't that long at all into the second half. So that signing clearly hasn't gone the way Tottenham wanted it to. It just sums up the craziness of this season, though, isn't it? Tottenham, 1 minute they're going to win the league, the next minute they're going to get top four, the next minute they're going to finish mid-table. It's the same for everyone. And credit to Brighton. I mean, they get a lot of credit, maybe, don't they, with Potter in charge. I think a lot of people like the way they go about it. And I think they do just lack a clinical striker up top. Obviously, Glenn Murray's gone. Welbeck's got his injury problems, but I think Trossard get the goal.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, they could get their hands on a top striker. I think they could be a solid mid-table side for sure.
Well, I'm disappointed to report that they have sold Glenn Murray now, so that was
They've
sad
sold him.
news. I'm pretty sure he's gone to Boris.
He's gone on loan to someone who went on loan to someone.
I'm pretty sure he'd gone.
Yeah.
In the January transfer window, just at the end.
Oh mate, that is one of the saddest things I've heard all year. I love Glenn Murray.
Who was one final thing? Who was your signing of the transfer window? I know there weren't many big ones.
Yeah, there's not that many to talk about. Obviously, the one I'd say I'm most excited about would be Odegaard. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how you pronounce his name, but I'm just going to go for that. But yeah, no, he's an exciting player. It kind of frustrates me a little bit because it's almost like assuming he's completely injury free for the whole thing. 6 months is not a lot of time at all to sort of have an impact, but hopefully he's good enough that he can. I honestly can't think of I mean, Liverpool obviously, a few centre backs on the last day.
Yeah, I mean, I like.
Should be good.
I mean, I can't admit to having watched them much. I'm not going to sit here and say I know much about them, but I'm just glad we brought 2 players in that seem to fit the profile of what we work towards. Both reportedly very good on the ball, calm. That's what you want, and that is what we based a lot of our recruitment on at the back. So it seems to fit the mold.
I would just add as well. I think Josh King to Everton could be a good signing.
Yeah.
Although my only sort of not issue, but I question where he's going to fit in. So obviously Calvert-Lewin's got the striker spot. That's on lock. That's not going to change. Richarlison tends to play off the left, and I think they play James off the right, don't they?
I think he'll be a bench. I think he'll be a bench player, but I think it adds a bit of depth because he can bag it. He could probably get 4 or 5 goals if he played enough before the end of the season. He's a Premier League striker, in my opinion.
He's a top player.
But the best signing, yes, is Nottingham Forest signing Glenn Murray.
Glenn Murray is probably the best English striker
best of all time.
The last decade.
He's better than Messi. But yeah. So we're not ripping him here. Really. He's just he's our idol.
Oh, we love it. Yeah, this is nothing about the sarcastic.
No.
We think he is the greatest English striker of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it there for the intros. So we've got Carlos on, who is a Barcelona fan, and we've made it an El Clasico. We've got Tavian on, who's a Real Madrid fan.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's show. As we mentioned in the first part, we've got a Real Madrid and Barcelona fan on today. Got a little El Clasico show going on.
So hi everyone, my name's Tavian. I support Real Madrid.
I'm Carlos. I'll be representing Barcelona today and defending.
Representing.
It's like a boxing fight.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh man.
Right. So we'll start with Carlos. So we want to discuss both your first memories in football in our new format. So I'd be interested to know when your sort of timeline was, when you started sort of following your teams. When you first knew about the rivalry, and so on. So if we start with Carlos, and then we'll move on to Tavian.
In my case, I don't think it's pretty clear. I remember what season it was. It was definitely the first season that Ronaldinho played for Barcelona. I was only 5 years old, so pretty young. But Ronaldinho meant so much back in the day for Barcelona. Like, it was times where Barcelona had relatively good squad, but nothing amazing. Ronaldinho came and he was like fresh, I don't know, a guy that did completely different stuff and played sick. So it was definitely that season. And if I had to say one game that I remember from that season, I might be wrong because I was 4 or 5 years old, but I think it was a Barcelona Real Madrid, and I think we won 2-1. And if I remember right, Xavi scored one of the goals. It was a pretty good goal, one of his best goals in my opinion, because he didn't normally score. But yeah, I think that was probably one of my first memories.
Yeah, well, I can't really remember watching Ronaldinho too much. I feel like I sort of just missed that. I don't know about you, Sam, but I
Yeah, no,
wish
I
I
remember
wish
AC Milan, but
yeah, I feel like I just missed that cusp, but God, I wish I
Back in
kind of
the
seen
day
him.
in Spain, he was the biggest guy.
Mm.
Obviously, Barcelona, we started winning. I think we won 2 seasons in a row. I think it was his second season when we started winning, and well, he won the Ballon d'Or twice. So us as little kids, it was the guy we all wanted to be like him.
Where does he
Um,
rank on your best pass? Well, your favorite Barca players of all time?
um, it's a hard decision. I mean, we've had some really good players in the last 20 years. I think there's 4 players which I have in mind. Obviously Messi, Ronaldinho, and then it would be Xavi and Iniesta because they both represented like the nice way that we played during those prime years back in like 2009 to 2015, 16. But if I had to rank Ronaldinho, he was the starting point, so maybe second after Messi.
It's not a bad place to be. It's not a bad place to be at all. So Tavian, from your point of view, what was your first memory of football in terms of for Real Madrid?
Oh yeah, in terms of Real Madrid, so my first memory actually isn't even a match. It's in 2009, summer of 2009. So the year that we signed Ronaldo, Kaká, Benzema, literally like Galactico summer. I went and visited my friend in Madrid, and we went to the Bernabeu. He's a big Madrid fan, and so just going around the stadium, watching all of these highlights, looking at all the trophies. That's like really the first memory I have of like Real Madrid or really any club in football. I mean, I'm from North America. You know, football's not a big thing back there. My family never have like a team or anything. Um, but yeah, I just remember being there in the stadium. It was just really like amazing, and the buzz around the club at that time was like insane. I mean, you know, with the signings that was happening. But then in terms of matches, like memorable matches early on as a Madrid fan, probably 2010 Copa del Rey final. Um, that was a pretty big one, where Ronaldo scored the winner. That one's probably one of the earlier matches where I remember, or I don't even know if I remember watching it, but like I remember the match so well just from like rewatching highlights and things like that, you know. Because I didn't really properly start watching, you know, like religiously until maybe 2012, 2013, around then, maybe 2011 as well with Mourinho. But yeah, so the kind of two first memories for me with Madrid.
Why initially did you decide to support Madrid? Because obviously, like you said, you're from North America. What was it just that?
Well,
Was it the signing
it
of?
was really going to the stadium, you know,
Yeah, just that.
just being
Yeah.
there and just seeing everything, and you know, getting a Sergio Ramos jersey, number 4 on the back. It was great.
Was that the first? I'm assuming that was the first time you've been to a stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I've only been to 2. I've been to Madrid and Barca.
it's not a bad couple.
Only 2.
it's not a bad combo.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say those 2010, 2011 seasons
Yeah.
with Mourinho and Guardiola, they were probably the most
best.
intense seasons we've had in Spain by far.
Tell you what, have you?
The tension before the matches, it was just insane. I remember going to school, and I'm not from Barcelona, I'm from Mallorca, which was like 50-50 split between Barcelona fans and Real Madrid fans. It was just insane. Like going to school on a Monday, it could either be great because Real Madrid had lost, or the worst.
Have you guys watched Take the Ball, Pass the Ball on Amazon Prime? So it's a documentary on
No.
the Barcelona team, but obviously includes a lot of the Mourinho stuff. That's
No.
No.
because I didn't realize sort of how intense it was until I watched that. So Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It built up. It built up. It started. I think they wanted it to be okay. Guardiola wanted it to be okay because I know Barcelona was already the top team, and Real Madrid were trying to be the top team, and Mourinho was always trying to clash against that. You know the way Mourinho is. He always wants to get it into a bit of a hustle and fighting and everything. And at the beginning, I'd say Guardiola didn't want that thing going on, but by the end of the second season, it was just
What year was it when Mourinho poked?
yeah,
I forget what his name is.
Milanova.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, in the eye though. That was
Um,
like that was when I was like, oh wow, these guys really hate each other.
that was Super Cup.
Yeah.
I think it must have been 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
I think it was probably Mourinho's last season.
Yeah, definitely.
In my opinion, Mourinho, he's one of those coaches that first season and second season, he'll have most of the team fully committed with him. But from what I've seen on most of the teams that he's been to, Real Madrid, Chelsea,
Yep.
third season onwards, there starts to be some chemistry problems there, and he just doesn't perform that well anymore. I don't know. What's your opinion about Mourinho? Because he's been a big.
I love him.
Okay.
I love Mourinho, but maybe that's because I'm a Madrid fan, and he was like my first. He was like my first love when it comes to football coaches, but I just thought I think he's hilarious. Like I love the passion he has for the game. Like there's so many good memories of him at Madrid as well. Like legendary coach for Madrid and just in football in general. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. The fact that he fell out with like legends like Casillas and basically half the dressing room is split between being with him, being against him. You can't have that as a coach. But I mean, that's just his style, like you said. He pushes teams to the brink, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I like him at Spurs too. I'm I'm kind of a Spurs fan just because of him. Not fully. I haven't fully committed.
No, as obviously Wenger is sort of the manager who's been most prominent in my life as an Arsenal fan. So out of respect for him, I think I have to basically hate Jose Mourinho. He pretty much stands for everything Wenger didn't stand for. But I respect him as a coach, and I have to agree. I think he's pretty funny. And he's definitely got some of those clippable moments from his press conferences. But definitely Wenger and Guardiola's side of things. But if we move on to the next, I don't know how either of you are going to be able to pick this, because I'm pretty sure I have a list of my favourite moments from your two teams, because there's just so many to pick from. If we go to Tavian first, what would your favourite Real Madrid moment be?
Number one, only one.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be La Decima, no? It has to be. It has to be Ramos's header, 92-48. I was so sad, man. Like I was I was so ready to just go to bed. I was so devastated. But yeah, I mean it has to be. Like you said, there's so many moments I could list. And I was actually thinking of some before, And I had a couple and I was like, yeah, those are good ones, but when it comes down to it, it's just like it was really the defining moment, I think, for Madrid going on to win, 4 out of 5 and then 3 in a row eventually, that being like the first out of the 4. Because that just like put that mentality in place where it's like, we're not going to lose no matter what happens. Like it doesn't matter who we're against. Like we'll always pull off a result somehow. And I think a lot of people didn't like the way Madrid used to win in those like 5-ish years, because it was like I feel like we did get lucky a lot, but we were so good that it almost made it look like we weren't playing good, but really we were like we had the game in control almost all the time. But yeah, so I think that just put that mentality of like, okay, we're never gonna lose, we never give up, we'll come back. Like sort of similar to I think like Liverpool have or have had over the past like 2 years. But yeah, so that's definitely my favorite moment so far.
I think
as a Real Madrid fan.
I think that's what a lot of the great teams do, and a lot of I feel like some fans don't understand in terms of You don't have to play well to be controlling a game. And we've seen it with Liverpool. I mean, City are kind of a little bit of an exception because I feel like they always play pretty football, whatever.
Yeah, well, I think Barcelona like is the opposite of what I just said. You know,
I
when
think
they're dominating
yeah.
a game, they look beautiful.
Teams
But
managed by
like,
Pep Guardiola.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So Carlos, what's your favourite memory? I know I've got one, and I said this last week that is my pick.
For
but-
Barcelona, you've got one.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I'm not sure. I think one of them is gonna come as a surprise.
Okay.
I'll go with that one first. I think one of my best memories, most intense, was Champions League semi-finals 2009 against Chelsea.
Oh
I know it's gonna be controversial because that
No.
was definitely not an honest win because the referee was, yeah, I guess we could say he didn't make the best decisions. But as a Barcelona fan that year, it was Guardiola's first season. We were playing insane, and obviously Champions is the biggest trophy, and we were winning all of the games really easily. Semi-finals against Chelsea, and neither of the games we managed to create any good chances. We weren't playing our best football, and it was just so frustrating. I was crying, and I don't know that goal on the 90th minute is always going to be huge satisfaction. Like that moment was immense, and then second amazing moment, which wasn't a moment where it was more of a match, was against Real Madrid. Mourinho's first season, we won 5-0 at Bernabeu.
Yeah.
That was again pure satisfaction, I'd say.
Yeah.
See,
and then I've got another one. Actually.
Go on.
we're not
Go on. Say it.
I've got three. Yeah. Glory days for Barcelona have given me plenty of good moments. The third one would be PSG. PSG come back.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
You can have another one, Tavian, if you want.
Nah, I'm fine.
Well, I'll take one. I'll
Yeah.
take two. I'll give like my honorary, sort of my
Your pick.
yeah, my second and third. Well, I would definitely put Ronaldo bicycle kick against Juve up there. That was just too good of a goal. Like I was going insane. Champions League, best competition. Ronaldo being like the top scorer of all time. That was just a massive goal. And it ended up being really crucial. Like at the time, I think it was only 1-0 that brought us to 2-0 in Turin, and we ended up winning 3-0. But then we were down 3-0 at home on the reverse leg, and then he ended up scoring the penalty at the very last minute to send us through. But so like that goal, even just being a goal in isolation, is like one of the best of all time. But it was actually turned out to be super crucial to send us through. Since Carlos put 3, I'll put one more. For a third, probably similar to Carlos's Chelsea, us against Bayern, where there was two years in a row where we had like a fierce rivalry with Bayern, but there was one year, and I forget which year it was. I think it was 2016. But Ronaldo scored a hat trick, and like 2 of his goals were offside. And I just remember the absolute meltdown from everybody about that match, and it made me so happy. I was so happy about that match, or about both those legs. And then so similar to Carlos, maybe because of the refereeing decisions, you almost enjoyed the victory more.
It's funny how we don't mind about what the referee says as long as we win.
Yeah.
When you're a fan of a team, it just doesn't matter.
So
I think it's crazy the amount. Obviously, like you had a limited choice, but the amount you haven't picked there. I mean, my favourite non-Arsenal moment was Messi's goal against Neuer, the chip. You've not got Bale running past Bartra. You've not got
Bale's
was it Iniesta scored in a 4-0 and got clapped off, I think, at Bernabeu. There's just so many you can pick from. But I just want to quickly ask Tavian about Bale. Obviously, it's quite a controversial thing in sort of the English media about how he's treated in Madrid and things. I want to know your opinion as a Madrid fan. How do you see Bale? A bit like with that Ronaldinho question, where does he rank for you?
In terms of Real Madrid legends, I don't think he ranks up there that highly. I don't think he's low on that list either. But I just think that if you're a legend of a club, you respect the club to the end. I don't think he respected the club. He's a fantastic player, and the season he came, we started winning Champions Leagues. Before that, we weren't. And then he comes the first season he's in, he ends up scoring the win in the final, right? So, and I mean, of course, the Copa del Rey goal. Like, he's had insane moments, and his stats are really good with the club, all things considered. Like, a lot of 100 million plus signings have been really bad. Like, Hazard, he's just been ruled out for 4 to 6 weeks. Like, he's horrible. Barca have had some really bad signings. So, I think, like, all in all, Bale, fantastic player, great signing, and help, win a lot of trophies for the club. But look at him at Spurs now; he's not even playing. Like, it's not only a problem with Madrid. I think it's really a problem with Bale himself. Um, I think the injuries just caught up to him. He can't play consecutive games anymore. And yeah, it's too bad because in his prime he was a a beast, fantastic player.
Yeah, he's incredible when he first came to you.
In my opinion about Bale, when he played for Madrid back in the day when they won the Champions League, the issue with him is that Cristiano Ronaldo was obviously the leader. He was the star, and when he left, I guess people expected him to be sort of the leader in the team, and he ended up not being on the starting 11.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I think he'll never be remembered as a big legend for Real Madrid, unlike other players.
Yep.
I don't know. Sergio Ramos is obviously going to be remembered as one of the big guys.
He might leave though.
Yep. What do you think about that? That's
I was actually going to talk about this in the transfers section, so I'll keep it in my back pocket.
Let's leave it.
So we'll move on. Yeah, we'll move on to see. My moment was, and I said this in the last episode we did. We're going to talk about our favorite moment in football in general, not just for our team. And I think I picked Ajax, but the one from a Barca Real Madrid perspective was the injury time winner from Messi at the Bernabeu, where he takes off his shirt.
I forgot about that.
We still won the league that year. We still won the league. It meant nothing.
I just want to say we've got everyone's video on, and every time one of you or one of us mentions one team winning or one team scoring, the other one just looks away in disgust every time.
Oh, man, yeah. So we'll start with Carlos on this one. If you got one moment in football that doesn't include Barcelona or Real Madrid for that matter, because I doubt you're going to pick a Real Madrid moment, but what would it be? What's your favorite moment or favorite memory?
I guess it's obvious. Being from Spain, it has to be Spain winning the World Cup. Yeah, no doubt about that. It's probably the best moment I've had in football, like counting Barcelona too. I'd say Spain winning the World Cup was amazing.
You can't argue with that, can you? I mean, none of us can argue with that. It's the best thing.
You can't get more than that.
No, if we won the World Cup, I'd be the same. So, Tavian, how about you?
Yeah, tough question. I mean, I don't have a national team to fall back on, right? Maybe Switzerland beating Spain in the World Cup in 2010.
We won the World Cup.
No, I'm joking. It's not that. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have one moment outside of Madrid. It's pretty tough for me. Ronaldo free kick against Spain. That was also pretty nice. Sorry, Carlos. Everything's against Spain, apparently.
I think it's against me.
No. I will say, in terms of like club football, Chelsea winning the Champions League against Bayern was pretty epic. The Drogba goal was pretty insane. Like, and as a Madrid fan, there's a bit of a rivalry between Bayern, less so with Chelsea. So I mean, yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then, yeah, I'll say that as my moment. Maybe Zidane's headbutt. That's also there too.
That's one of my earliest memories of football.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. My earliest memory of football actually is 2006 World Cup, but the semis between Brazil and France. I was actually in France, but I was rooting for Brazil. I was walking around the streets with like Brazil wristbands and headbands on the day before. I was just, I was like some 6-year-old. Everyone's probably like, this kid.
Just trying to know the whole French population.
Yeah. So if we if we move on then, because this question we've already talked about a little before, and we've had this with the other shows. It's probably been the hardest question for everyone. But just before I go into your guys, I just want to quickly bring up with Carlos my answer. I don't know if you listened to the first one. My answer for this, as an Arsenal fan, was that we got Suarez when it was rumoured in the 40 million and £1. And I just wanted your opinion now on what do you make of the Suarez move to Atletico? Because obviously it's come in for a lot of heat from a lot of people.
Disaster, absolute disaster. I mean, it's just another bad decision that Barcelona have had in the recent years. I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. It was published the debt that Barcelona have at the moment. It's over 1,000 million euros, which is absolutely insane. And especially taking into account that now we're in really tough times with all of the COVID and stuff. There's no way that teams are gonna earn that much to bring it back. So it's insane. But yeah, that Suarez transfer was really bad. And on top of that, I heard a couple of weeks ago that Barcelona's president, he didn't want to sell it for free because obviously no one wants to sell a player for free. But he didn't want Koeman didn't want Suarez to stay at Barcelona, and obviously Suarez's wage was insane too, nowhere near as Messi's, but still it's pretty big. So what he did is, Atletico were going to pay 6 million, which is a bargain for Suarez.
Yeah.
But nowadays Barcelona is still paying 6 million out of the 14 that he earns per year. So basically, he left for free. Yeah, we're basically paying Atletico, one of our direct opponents, for one of the best strikers in the world to win the league. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
It's a weird one, yeah. But yeah, if we do head on to your guys then, so we'll go back to you then, Carlos, for this one.
Yep.
Who's the? I mean, we talked about this like we said before. It's difficult for you guys to pick because you've had most of the best players in the world. But who's the one player you wish Barcelona could have signed?
It's really tough. If I had to say a player that I've been really jealous that another team has had, is Luka Modric. I think he's a player that he plays the way that Barcelona like to play, and he would have fitted perfectly into Barcelona. And one of the most important players for Madrid to have won 4 Champions Leagues, it's got to be Modric. So if I had to pick one player, I think it'd be Modric. I don't know if it comes as a surprise, but yeah.
I mean,
that's the one.
Slight surprise, but I feel like you guys have had such a depth of talent. It is a tricky one for both of you. I'd say more than probably any other clubs over the last 10 years, maybe. Apart from maybe it's just Juve, but that's about it, I would say. But Tavian, what about you? Oh, it's probably even harder for Tavian.
Yeah, well, so I wouldn't change anything from our squad between literally 2013, 14 till almost now or this summer, like the past summer. We didn't sign anybody, and look at us now. So it wouldn't be a signing to improve the past team. It would be a signing to improve the current team. And with Ramos looking like he's probably going to leave, which I hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't, but contract issues, money, all of that. I really wish we would have signed David from Ajax because I think he's going to be really top class. And I think he's already playing pretty well for Juve. I watch a decent amount of Juve games for the good old times' sake. But yeah, David would be my choice.
Do you see, if De Ligt had gone there, would you have seen him as a direct Ramos replacement, or do you think someone else would have had to fill that role as a leader?
Yeah, well, I would have hoped for him to do. Well, no, honestly, I would have hoped for Varane to fill in Ramos' shoes in terms of leadership. But I think we saw in the City, like both of the City matches last year, and honestly, this season he's been pretty poor. And when Ramos doesn't play, he looks lost. So I don't know. I guess my answer to your question is yes. I would have hoped to come in and really.
One more question about that, because you say that Varane's been poor especially when Ramos hasn't played. But then we saw
Real
it.
Madrid is poor without
Yeah,
Ramos
yeah,
playing.
yeah. So, do you think that comes down to coaching? Because we saw at the World Cup, Umtiti and Varane play together under Deschamps, a very good defensive system, and it worked wonders. I don't know how many goals they conceded, but it wasn't many. So, do you think it's more of a coaching issue, or
Not really. I mean, who did France play that was any good apart from Argentina?
Belgium?
Yeah, but Belgium, like but like club teams are so much better than national teams just because they're playing together week in week out. You know, like I don't really think it comes down to coaching. Um, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but France also have an insane squad around them.
That's true.
You know, they've, and then you know they also have Kante filling in the gaps right in front of them, which you know can't be gone unnoticed. I'm sure they have Varane has Casemiro in front of him right now, but he's a bit of a loose cannon sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. It might be down to coaching. I just think there's a weird mental bug. And I hope that it's not anything serious. But yeah, it's kind of hard to tell.
So that's all for now. Thank you to Tavian and Carlos for coming on. We've had a great discussion. Me and Sam will be back next week with another guest or two. Check us out on Spotify, on YouTube, and check out our Twitter page. And any comments, any suggestions, leave them there. They're all appreciated. See you next week.